Okay, this is the historic St. Paul's Church in Grand Parade in Halifax. You've probably seen the exterior, but I bet you haven't been on the inside. It is absolutely beautiful in here, and this is not only the oldest church in Halifax, it's the oldest building in Halifax, and that's why Margaret Bateman Ellison is dressed in this fine 17th century garb. So what's happening the weekend of the 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Well, we're having the capstone events for our 275th anniversary. And we're trying to focus on past, the present, and the future.
Well, there are so many wonderful events planned, which we'll get into in a second. But this is Reverend Paul Friesen. And a lot of people also don't realize that this church is an active parish community today.
Absolutely. Very active, engaged in social outreach and all kinds of other programs, with a regular congregation on Sundays and Wednesdays.
And when is church service here?
10 o'clock on Sunday mornings.
All right, and anybody's welcome to join you?
Absolutely.
Okay, and if you wanted to check out the church, also this summer there will be tours ongoing, but a really special occasion to visit St. Paul's is the weekend of the 6th, 7th, and 8th. This is a celebration of past, present, and future. So how has this church been significant in the community in the past, Margaret?
Well, people that have lived in Halifax for a while, but maybe not as long ago as the sinking of the Titanic or the Halifax explosion, clergy and the facility were used during those times to give aid and to deal with those people that have been tragically killed during either one of those episodes, and then other highlights over the years. So St. Paul's has a long, long history of being involved in community.
Let's talk a little bit about the explosion for a second, because there's, of course, the famous man in the window. A lot of people know about the legend about this window. How did it actually happen?
Well, the explosion happened, and the vibrations came all the way from where it happened to the point that windows were broken in St. Paul's, but one was broken in a rather unique shape, and rather than replacing it, it has been sandwiched between glass and is there to present day. And I have to harbor a guess that with being on guide tour in the summer, more people come to see the man in the window than actually come to see what the inside of the church looks like.
Well, it's the gateway drug. It gets people through the doors.
It does.
And Reverend Friesen, there is another piece of actually literally lodged in the building of the explosion.
Yes, and it has the interesting word relic on it, and it's a piece of window frame that flew off an adjoining building and stuck in on that day, and it's still there.
It's still there. It's hard to believe that even the building is still here 275 years later. So you can celebrate. Let's talk about the events now. What's happening that weekend?
Well, Friday night, I think we have a very special free event highlighting stained glass windows and telling the story about them, accompanied by interlude and an opportunity to come and share in that, followed by a reception. And we welcome anybody, not just our parishioners, to come and hear about the windows. Our collection is outstanding, and we're going to highlight 8 of them.
All right, and then, of course, on Saturday, there's a big open house, and all of the details are on our website, because it's on the church's website, too, but we put it on ours to make it easier for you. But Reverend Friesen, why is the service on Sunday extra special?
Well, the service is extra special on Sunday because we're going to be using the order of service, or the order of the Eucharist, that comes from a book called the 1662 Book of Common Prayer. And it was in use in 1749-50, the first year, and for much of the church's history. And we're going back to that for this service.
How is it different than the way we do things today?
It imagined a much plainer sort of setup, lots of words that we don't use very much anymore.
Sure.
There would have been no organ, so it'll only be choir, which will be up in the gallery. And the laity didn't have a part of the service really, except to respond as a group to various cues. Oh. Whereas today it's a very widely distributed service, you might say.
Yeah, there are women who are leading the service.
Well, there
these
are
days.
Women who are bishops, and clergy as well as laity. That's correct.
All right, well, finally, Margaret, one more thing we want to share with people is that there's a Jane Austen tea. Now, Jane Austen, there's a connection between St. Paul's and Jane Austen.
Well, yes, and we have a parishioner that we saw grow up and has taken on researching Jane Austen for her doctoral dissertation and providing us with her background and knowledge, and discovered that Jane Austen's brother and a niece, the brother was married at St. Paul's, the niece was baptized at St. Paul's, and so with it being the 250th year and Sarah Baxter Emsley's enthusiasm for Jane Austen, we decided to incorporate that as an event. So we're having a happy birthday tea. Happy birthday, Jane, 250.
All right, that's fantastic. And $275 for St. Paul's. Well, thank you both so much for this very short tour. If you want to find out more about the church, and believe me, we have not even scratched the surface of the history, you can visit the church and any of the tours that happen this summer, and we put all the information about the event and the church's website on ours.